Hi, it's Dr. Dina Churchill, Innovator of Women's Health and Wellness, here tonight to talk to you and give you a summary about The Truth About Cancer, Episode 3. You know, every night before I come on, I get this little rushing in my heart and I start breathing heavy and I have this nervousness. And then I have to remember, that my own personal fears and doubts about what I might say or how somebody might perceive it is not as important as the message that we're delivering. The first episode, we looked at the pharmacology of the business of cancer and Gerson therapy, how nutrition can help heal with certain cancers, also coffee enemas, and how the medical system is just not aware of these alternate healing methods. Last night we looked at essential oils, the essential oils of plants. The leaves of the trees are for the healing of the nations, and redefined cancer as really a symptom of a dis-ease in your body, the immune system. And in redefining cancer, we understand then that there's not going to be one cure because there's many causes. We have to look at the person as a whole in treating the body, the mind, the spirit, the environment, to detoxify and replenish and renew so the body can heal itself. Episode 3 continues with the healing property of plants, juicing and viruses, and also the dangers of GMOs. So we'll look at that tonight. The information I'm presenting, some of it is from what I've learned in this documentary series, and some might include my own personal opinion, experience, or what I've read. So if you have any questions on books that I suggest or other resources, just email me. And I want to thank everybody that sent me information, that's posted information. This is really not about me. It's about empowering and inspiring and educating you and the public. I don't think we can depend on our pharmaceuticals. I don't think we can depend on our medical profession. I don't think we can depend on our media to give us these messages. We have to be the ones from a ground roots level to understand how to empower and heal ourselves. So thank you for being here. The Truth About Cancer, Episode 3. Let's talk about plants. So they looked at turmeric. As resveratrol from red grapes, green tea, peanuts, and how these chemicals, these plants, help heal our bodies of cancer. Why are these plants in their natural form better than chemotherapy, which are copies of some of these chemicals? For many reasons. So chemotherapy is a non-specific approach. I remember saying last night, like a shotgun approach, that it attacks and blows out everything, not just the cancer cells, but also the healthy tissue in your body. Plants, like the turmeric, the green tea, can be cell-specific, that they only kill the cancer cells, but they leave the healthy tissue intact. The second reason is that the plants have what I called a homeostatic intelligence, meaning they can deliver a little more or a little less to the body, whatever the body needs in that time. So I gave the example of cinnamon, bringing your blood pressure, bringing your blood sugar up if it needed to, or bringing it down. So the plants, like the essential oils, have this homeostatic intelligence. They also are killing not only the daughter cells or the tumor cells, but they can also kill the stem cells. So this is a problem with chemotherapy drugs. It takes the head off the tumor, but it doesn't really affect the stem cells. So they go on to circulate what they call circulating tumor count, and other cancers can spring up at later times. So this diet of juicing and fresh foods that I'm going to talk about is not only great for preventing cancers, it's great at reducing inflammation. And inflammation has been shown to, be responsible for many chronic diseases. Dr. Balak was asked by Ty in this episode, if these healing plants and oils and chemicals are so important. Remember I talked about the BEC from the devil's fruit in Australia, and the eggplant and the green pepper. These are such healing powers and have such scientific studies done as a result of this. Why don't oncologists, recommend it? And Dr. Balak says, they're not aware. It's not part of a medical doctor's learn about nutrition. And our oncology conferences are sponsored by the drug companies. So they're not going to be talking about nutrition. They're going to be talking about, the next best cancer drug. Let's see what else I wanted to tell you here. Okay. Here's a little fun thing. So we have some people watching. Can you tell me what this is? I'm going to give you a moment to look at it and see if you can tell me what's in this glass. I don't know if you can see it there. I'll turn it around. Okay, so I'll give you a hint. It has 98 of 102 earth elements. It has 103 vitamins. 1 ounce of this stuff is equivalent to 2.5 pounds of greens. Okay, can anyone give me the answer? What is this? Anyone know? Wheatgrass. Oh, and it also has vitamin B17, which is a powerful anti-carcinogen. So I have this every morning. It's like liquid oxygen. You can buy it in the health food store in these little like ice cube trays, and then you can just pop like an ice cube in your water in the morning. And it's a great way to start off the day. So if there's one thing that you can take home from, this little video tonight, would be to start your day with wheatgrass, because it has those 98 earth elements, 103 vitamins in just 1 ounce. And that's the importance of juicing, really, is that it's condensing, just like the essential oils squeeze out and condense and make more concentrate the powers of the plant. By juicing, you're doing the same thing. You can throw the ingredients of like 3 salads into 1 ounce, 1 6-ounce glass of juice. I like what they said in the episode 3. What's the best juicer? Well, the one I have is Omega juicer. I just bought from Canadian Tire. I love it because they can clean it and it cleans easy. But the best juicer is the one you'll use. So experiment with some different juicers, and it's a great way just for health, for vitality, for fibromyalgia, for pain syndromes, for reducing inflammation in your body. So you don't have to have cancer to follow this anti-cancer healthy diet. So juicing is important. Essiac tea, they mentioned. I hadn't heard this in years, but Essiac tea was developed by a Canadian. In 1920, she was a nurse, and these herbs were put together by an Indian medicine man that have healed thousands of people. Essiac tea. Of course, mainstream medicine will call it, quackery and snake oil, but we don't mind that, because that way it'll stay on the shelves and won't have an identification number for the drug companies, and we'll have access to it. So let them think it's snake oil. But I can just tell you, if you look up Essiac tea, since 1920, it's been healing thousands of people. This is an interesting fact. In 1963, the German government, under pressure of the Bayer Company, which again is a drug company, in 1963 launched something called the Codex Alimentaris Commission, with the goal to make sure that vitamins and the benefits for human health were eliminated. So this is a century-long, what they called a century-long crime against human health. But if we put the word crime in there, everyone gets, I better take a drink. Let's call it a different set of values, because we seen that with the Flexner Report in 1910, where companies like Carnegie Foundation and Rockefeller Foundation went in and manipulated the curriculum of the medical schools to include more pharmaceuticals and less nutrition. So here we are in 1963 seeing the Bayer Company do the same manipulation with the German government. This is why it's so difficult for nutrition and vitamins and natural health to thrive and survive in this environment, and why you might run into some resistance. Just know that there's a dark act. You can look this up. It's true. There's a dark act, but there's also a light act. I had to remind myself of that, and we're part of it. Educating and inspiring, and empowering with knowledge. So know you're part of the Light Act. What else do I have to share here? GMOs. Oh my goodness. Genetically modified foods. So I'll have to take this down and go over this with you. So genetically modified foods are when you take the genes from one species and put it into another. There's two different types of genetically modified foods. There's a herbicide tolerance, which I'll explain, and a pesticide production. So herbicide tolerance gives Roundup ready crops like soya, corn, cotton, canola, sugar beets, and alfalfa. So these are the foods you do not want to eat. Corn, soya, cotton, canola, sugar beets, and alfalfa, unless it's non-genetically modified. So what that means is they take genes from a bacteria and pieces of virus and they put it into plants to make them more hardy, that they will survive the spraying of Roundup over the crops. So the farmers don't have to weed. The weeds die off with this Roundup, but the crops survive. So it's the Roundup is made by a company called Monsanto, which is a group of companies actually with that are developing. I'll get back to that, but have developed many different pesticides and herbicides. So these engineered pieces of bacteria and viruses make the plant more hardy to survive the Roundup. But the Roundup is also a chemical called glyphosate, another name for it. They renamed it. Glyphosate, that is carcinogenic. Despite some of the studies that say it's not, there's a whole list of studies that I've emailed our health minister locally, Leo Glavine, the federal health minister, Jane Philpott, and also Justin Trudeau, our prime minister. These health concerns about this glyphosate. Because if you're watching in Nova Scotia, they sprayed it over Nova Scotia forests. I was part of signing a petition to, bring awareness, but the petition was pushed aside and they sprayed the forest. So now this glyphosate seeps into the land and eventually goes into our water and creates tremendous issues. So if you just Google glyphosate, you'll see, or Roundup, you'll see a whole list of health concerns. So what happens is then we eat the plants that have this glyphosate on it. So that's one problem. The second problem with genetically modified foods is that it affects pesticide production. So they found a bacteria, they isolated a bacteria in the soil that releases an insecticide that keeps the insects away from the bacteria. And they put this bacteria in the plant. So now if a bug eats the plant, they ingest the insecticide and they die. So when we eat the plant, not only are we eating the insecticide from the bacteria that they've genetically modified into the plant, but then we're eating the herbicide Roundup that's been sprayed. So we get it twice. We get, chemicals from the plant and then chemicals that have been put on the plant. So genetically modified foods are really not a good idea. I'm going to see if I can have a picture to show you of a genetically modified. So most of the studies that were done on genetically modified foods that were approved were actually done by the company that produces the Roundup, Monsanto. If you look at independent data done by other companies, you see quite different results. So this is a group of rats that were fed genetically modified corn. I hope you can see that there. The size of the tumors. Can you see? Can I have a thumbs up? Somebody, can you see? So Monsanto said this was safe, and Seralini, S-E-R-A-L-I-N-I, who did the same experiments using the same rats, the same rodents as Monsanto, he found in the independent study that there was liver and kidney damage, that 50% of the men had a decreased lifespan, and 70% of the women had a decreased lifespan. And then the most outstanding thing with the genetically modified foods fed to these rats, they had a 300% increase in tumors. So these genetically modified foods are crazy. They're frankincense food. They're unbelievable. So in Canada, we're fighting not just to have genetically modified foods taken off the market. We're fighting just to have them labeled as such, because you won't know you're eating the genetically modified foods. Now, when I was doing research on this, when I was communicating to the health ministers, I had researched that there's 37 countries in Europe that have banned genetically modified foods and their ingredients. So again, they've banned genetically modified foods. Here in Canada, like I said, we're still fighting over having the foods labeled so we know it's genetically modified. So what can you do? Eat fresh, start a garden, grow your own foods, support our local farmers who are struggling, trying to keep the plants organic. But, this, again, monopoly, Monsanto, even sells seeds and contaminated seeds from different farmers. So we really have to look after what's organic and protect our earth. What else do I want to say about that? Gluten-free. Well, this is the problem with, all the wheat allergies, right? Because our wheat has been genetically modified so many times that our body doesn't even recognize it as food. It's changed, and the peptides in our food then attach to sugars and, get deposited in our brain, can cause, things from schizophrenia to all sorts of chronic diseases and inflammations. So our wheat is creating problems in our health because of the genetically modified condition. And companies, multi-billion-dollar companies, are spending millions to keep us unaware of what's in our food. So anything that's processed or in a box, the ingredients on that some ingredients can be missing, or they can chemically change the name so it looks like something else. So if it's in a bag, if it's processed, it probably has chemicals in it that you don't need. So eat fresh, eat healthy, eat organic, non-genetically modified. All the problems with our gut. They talk about gut compromise. Again, if you're eating a food that has been genetically enhanced to keep bacteria away, how do we digest it? Our bodies are bacteria. That's how we digest our foods. So if we're putting in, plastic food, it can't be digested and utilized. So that's why, again, the juicing is so important, because it targets those 2 points. The juicing helps detoxify the body, but it also supplies concentrated nutrition. So eat real food. Dr. Joe Mercola quotes that the typical American spends 95% of his caloric intake in processed foods. So again, take home points for tonight. Drink your wheatgrass. Try juicing, even just one juice a week for now, and you can move it up to more. And try to avoid anything in a package. If you can eat directly from the land, scoop it from the lake, pick it from the tree and eat it directly. Grow it yourself even is healthy. What else do I want to tell you about? So, they did a study in Sweden with a family who said they couldn't afford to eat organic. And they took urine samples and found pesticides in their urine. And they said, okay, for 2 weeks, we're going to feed you only organic foods. And after 2 weeks, the pesticides in the urine disappeared. So know that wherever you are on that health continuum, there's always room to change. And it just starts with one step, really. An old chiropractic professor used to say that, health and disease is on a continuum. And you have optimal health on one side and death and disease on the other side. It doesn't matter where you are on that continuum as long as you're moving in the right direction. So again, there's never one answer or one solution, because we're all different. So we have to look at different solutions in our food, detoxifying our bodies, detoxifying our minds, balancing our minds, and for a solution not only for cancer but for overall health. So again, I would like to thank you for watching, for all the people that have given me feedback on this. Again, I really appreciate it. It's challenging to see both the dark side and the light side, knowing that there's those with different values than you. But, we're strong in numbers and powerful in information. So if we share what we know, we can turn it around that, these companies are going to look at our earth differently and look at our health and want to empower people and save our planet. But it starts with you. So thank you for being here. I'd ask you to reach for the stars, envision and achieve your personal best, and most of all, enjoy the journey. This is Dr. Dina Churchill signing out.